Alright, Trekkies and Trekkers, time for the final episode review of the day, which is Profit and Loss. When a damaged Kardashian ship shows up near Deep Space Nine, Commander Benjamin Sisko has Miles O'Brien bring it in via tractor beam. Sisko and Chief O'Brien go down to greet the passengers, Natima Lang and her students, Reglin and Hogue. Lang claims that their ship was damaged in a meteor swarm. She tells them she is a decent teacher but not much of a pilot and requests repairs. Sisko offers her Cardassian quarters, but Lang is anxious about being on a Bajoran station. Sisko replies it will be fine if she and her students stick to the promenade. In the meantime, Quarks is bustling as usual. Garrick and Dr. Julian Bashir have their regular lunch, having a conversation about loyalty to the state versus family. Bashir attempts once again to elicit from Garrick an admission of being a spy or an outcast, but is unsuccessful. At the bar, Odo lets Quark know he knows about the cloaking device he obtained, but Quark assures him he has nothing to worry about. Just then, the new arrivals visit the promenade, and Quark recognizes Natima and greets her excitedly. Natima, however, quickly slaps Quark and tells him she never wants to see him again. And as she walks away, Quark tells Odo, "This is the happiest day of my life." Quark and Natima were once lovers, and it is apparent as he follows her, though she continues to deny him pleasant conversation. Steering her companions into the bar, drawing Natima along, he pours a Sumerian sunset for her, and, in turn, forces the other two to go to the bar. He tries to talk to her alone, however, the second he quotes the rule of acquisition, any such feelings seem to vanish. Garrick and Bashir pass by, and Garrick acknowledges Natima politely, prompting her to panic silently and leave with Reglin and Hogue. The three immediately leave for Ops, and Natima tells Sisko that she and her students must leave quickly. Before she arrives, though, O'Brien has discovered that her ship was actually damaged by Cardassian phaser fire. Natima then reveals their political outcasts intent on reforming the Cardassian government, fighting for Cardassia's future. Natima explains the nature of the Cardassian dissident movement to Sisko and reveals that Reglin and Hogue are both important movement leaders. They also reveal that Garrick has seen them. Sisko promises to increase efforts to repair the ship by assigning additional engineers. While Natima talks to Sisko, Quark visits Garrick's shop and asks for his advice on Cardassian fashion. The editor describes Natima's taste in fashion as too radical for his liking, and warns that a poor choice in fashion can be detrimental to one's health. The silly-filled conversation reveals to Quark that he has been warned to separate Natima from the other two, as they will be pursued by the government, and consequently, so will Natima and Quark. Furthermore, Garrick will not help with Natima. Quark then goes to Natima and professes his love, he'd be willing to leave DS9 and his bar for her. After all their history, she doesn't believe him and refuses. She feels betrayed by Quark's action of trying to steal from the Cardassians using her access codes, and believes all he cares about is profit, even if momentarily he does want to leave with her. A Cardassian warship arrives shortly thereafter, ignoring communication attempts from Jadzia Dax and targeting the station with its weapons and activating its deflector shields. Just then, Garrick visits Ops to talk with Sisko. Downplaying the aggressiveness of the warship's approach to the station, Garrick explains that Central Command wants Hogue and Reglin. He describes them as terrorists, but also says they are not dangerous, rather annoying. Garrick reminds him of the fragile relationship between Cardassia and the Federation, but Sisko warns Garrick that if the Cardassians attempt to try and take them by force, he will respond in kind. Garrick acknowledges that and also invites Sisko to his shop to try on some suits he thinks will look flattering on the commander. Desperate to get Natima back, Quark offers Hogue and Reglin a cloaking device to help them escape, but as part of the agreement, he requires that Natima stay with him. Later, Quark goes to Natima with the device. Natima tries to reason with Quark, explaining that she cannot stay, and threatens to take the device by phaser. Believing she is bluffing, Quark dares her to do so. However, she fires the phaser but looks just as surprised as Quark. Natima tells him she barely touched the trigger and did not mean to fire, after which she apologizes and declares her love for him. However, she still says the movement is her life, and she has sacrificed much for it. Quark responds by relieving their relationship, and that she's already given him enough for the movement. Finally, she agrees to staying with him. As the two of them happily reminisce about the past, Odo enters Antima's quarters and places her under arrest over Quark's objections. The Bajoran provisional government has agreed to turn Antima, Hogue, and Raquelin over to the Cardassians in exchange for the release of several Bajoran prisoners. Sisko tells Antima and her group and that he is forced executed. Meanwhile, a former rival of Garrick's, Gul Turan, visits Garrick's shop and tells the tailor that Central Command has changed its mind. He says he convinced them to have the prisoners killed instead. In exchange for killing the prisoners, Garrick will be allowed to return to Cardassia from his exile. In Odo's security office, Quark convinces Odo to help Antima and takes her and her students to their ship. First, he tries profit motivations, but then appealing to Odo's lack of apparent emotion, then by trading information. Finally, he begs him, but Odo agrees due to the justice of it. The group leaves with Quark to the airlock, however. Garrick greets them there. He laments that he must now kill them as well as Antima and her students. Quark and Antima attempt to reason with Garrick, but he says he's not here to debate the situation and that Quark should have taken his advice earlier. Before Garrick can finish, Turan emerges from behind a cargo container, claiming he knew Garrick would not go through with it. Turan reveals he only used Garrick to learn Hogan and Raquelin's whereabouts. Garrick then vaporizes him as he tries to shoot the group. With the deal obviously gone, Garrick allows the group to leave, and Quark promises more Ferengi business for him. Before the team leaves, Quark tries one final time to convince her to stay. She tells him she must return to Cardassia until her work is done. So I have to get you back as we until Cardassia becomes a free and democratic society? He asks. Smiling, Antima tells him they will meet again someday and promises to make it worth the wait. When she leaves, Quark asks why Garrick shot Turan, to which Garrick replies why Quark helped Antima. I had no choice. I love her, Quark says. But all I love is Cardassia, which is why I had to do what I did. Garrick responds, adding, That's the thing about love. No one really understands it, do they? Yeah, you definitely got a point there, Garrick. So anyway, let's take a look at the background information of this episode, beginning with story and script. The original teleplay for this episode very closely paralleled the plot of the 1942 Academy Award-winning Michael Curtis film Casablanca. In fact, it was originally called Here's Looking at You, a reference to a popular quote from the film. The producers, however, decided to change some of the more obvious references to the film, as well as the title, to avoid potential legal problems. The scene in Antima's quarters in Act 2 was shortened in the broadcast version, with the start of the scene being unfilmed or deleted from the final cut of the episode. In this scene, Lang discusses getting Hogue and Raquelin to Sidera 6, two other Cardassian dissident members, and compliments them for their accomplishments over the past 5 years in opposing the Cardassian central government. Later, Quark impersonates a Lieutenant Smith and contacts Lang through the comm, telling her that Commander Sisko is on his way to her quarters to speak with her. Antima sends Hogue and Raquelin to check on O'Brien's repairs to their ship, and Quark enters Antima's quarters soon after they exit. And now on to the production of this episode. Armin Shimon and Mary Crosby's makeup had to be touched up each time the actors kissed, since this orange makeup would end up mixing with her gray makeup. According to makeup supervisor Michael Westmore, the love scene in this episode between Lang and Quark is one of his all-time favorite Star Trek scenes due to the fact that despite all the heavy makeup, it is still just a touching, simple romantic scene between two people in love, and the makeup becomes completely unimportant. During filming of Profit and Loss, a 6.7 magnitude earthquake struck Southern California, including the Paramount Studios where Deep Space Nine was being produced. The earthquake struck on January 17, 1994 at 4:31 a.m., when Armin Shimmerman, Mary Crosby, and other actors requiring extensive makeup were having their makeup applied in preparation for crew call at 5 a.m. Most of the actors in the makeup trailer ran to their cars and drove home to check on family members. However, they were still wearing their makeup, and as director Robert Weimer points out, quote, "It must feel like the bowels of the earth had opened up and those characters had come out." Armin Shimmerman commented that he, quote, "scared the crap out of people with his alien appearance." Following a 2-day inspection of the studio for damage and structural safety, filming continued on January 19th, albeit amid a series of aftershocks. Andrew Robinson commented, quote, "When the earthquake hit in January, it was 4:30 a.m. in Los Angeles. I was already in the makeup chair, along with Armin Shimmerman and a couple other actors. It was pretty bizarre. This earthquake hits, and all the power goes out, and all these aliens in varying stages of makeup are milling about in the darkness. People like Armin and Ed Wiley, who was playing this Cardassian, couldn't get through on the phone to their families, so they just jumped into their cars, Armin in his court makeup and Ed with his Cardassian makeup on, and drove through the pre-dawn streets of Los Angeles. I couldn't imagine what the other motorists saw. I thought that would be more bracing than a cup of coffee." Now finally, onto some trivia surrounding this episode. In this episode, it is revealed that Quark sold food to the Bajorans during the occupation. In this episode, the Cardassians are said to be exchanged for Bajoran prisoners, despite the episode The Homecoming scene that the Cardassians had, at least publicly, released all Bajoran prisoners. This episode reveals that Cardassia considers Garak to be in exile, although it is not clear to what extent his exile is self-inflicted. Reference Rules of Acquisition number 223, the Quark is cut off before he can recite it. This is the first episode to refer to the Cardassian dissident movement. This is also the first episode to use the term Cardassian Central Command. Mary Crosby, once famous for her role as Kristen Shepard, who saw J.R. Ewing in Dallas, is the daughter of Bing Crosby and aunt of Denise Crosby, who played Tasha Yar. On the pad from which Odo is reading I, the Jury, one can clearly see an image of a wooded forest and medieval castle above the text. This is a reuse of the pad used in the episode If Wishes Were Horses, in which O'Brien reads his daughter the story of Rumpelstiltskin, for which those images are appropriate. Quark's cloaking device will be seen again in the Voyager episode Live Fast and Proper, as Neelix's malfunctioning heating coil and a piece of Xindi debris in the Enterprise episode Exile. Carrick Lofton, who plays Jake Sisko, does not appear in this episode. In this episode, Garak actually truthfully tells Dr. Bashir exactly what he is saying. Exactly what he is saying, or maybe, I'm an outcast spy. Albeit in such a tongue-in-cheek manner that the Doctor merely disregards it as preposterous, which is probably his intent. So overall, I think this is a pretty good episode, and while I don't know if we'll see Quark's Cardassian love interest again, it's still a pretty good episode anyway, so yeah. So overall, I gave the episode Profit and Loss 3 warp cores out of 5. Tune in tomorrow as we take a look at the next episode, Blood Oath. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.